Morning, welcome to Nana's Nuggets again. Today my Nana's Nuggets is called Snips and Snails and Puppy Dogs' Tails. That's what little boys are made of. Why did I choose that? Well, surprise, surprise, my 19th grandson was born this morning, or grandchild. It happens to be a boy. He's not my 19th grandson, but 19th grandchild was born this morning, so a little exciting, and it made me think about boys, and it made me think about boy things. And one of the things it made me think about is trains, because I love trains, and I am blessed to live in an area. It's called the Treasure Valley, for those of you who don't know. And surrounding Treasure Valley are mountains, and right now those mountains are covered with snow. It's absolutely beautiful to see these white mountains up against this beautiful blue sky. But we also are blessed, well, I think so anyways, because like I said, I like trains, to live in an area where we have trains. They come in and out all the time. And I don't mind being stuck at the crossing guard watching the trains, because I like to see the street art that people have done on the sides of the cars. I think it's pretty and it's interesting. Sometimes it's not, but for the most part, it is. And I love to take a guess, like, okay, I see 3 engines in the front, then I know it's going to be a longer train. If I see 3 engines in the front and 2 engines in the middle, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be here for a little while. And the other day I was there, and I timed it from the start that the train hit the crossing in front of me till the caboose went through, or actually it was more engines. They don't have cabooses anymore, I don't think, which is kind of sad. So it took 13 minutes. Now, I don't know how fast the train was going. So if somebody knows how fast the train goes through a town intersection, then you can multiply how fast it was going by 13 minutes, then you'll get the size of the train. I'm thinking the train is over a mile long, but I don't know if that's even possible, because I don't know how many cars can a train pull. I know the one who knows the answer to this is my brother-in-law, Joey, my sister Lisa's husband. He was a train engineer, and he knows everything there is to know about trains, so I just haven't called him and asked him. But anyways, so I was thinking about trains, and of course that led my mind down all these little places, because that's what my mind does. And one of the things that it reminded me of is when I was a child, we lived in Lebanon, New Hampshire, on Mascoma Street, and right across the street from us were houses, but behind those houses was an embankment that went down to the train tracks. And we were not very far from the train crossing where it crossed the road. In those days, though, they didn't have the crossing guards. The train just went through town, and you just better not be on the tracks. That's all there was to it. But we would hear the signals going off, and we'd run like heck to go down there, and we'd jump up and down, and we'd wave, hoping that the engineers would see us and they'd wave. And sometimes they did, and we were so super excited, and sometimes they didn't. But they always blew their whistle. We thought, oh, they're blowing the whistle for us. We're so excited. Oh, this is so wonderful. And then later, when I got to be an adult, and I found out that they have to blow their whistle because they're coming to an intersection. Oh, well, I enjoyed it when I was a kid. But also, these little train memories traveling down that track. My grandfather, my mom's dad, worked on a train for a time in his life, and we actually have a picture of my grandpa leaning out of the engine window of a train. And my mom always told me that he was a brakeman, and I asked my Aunt Sandy, do you remember, because this was before she was even born, and she said, well, she thought that he was a brakeman or a signalman on the train, but she said she knows that from the stories that Grammy used to tell her, that Grandpa was the guy who held the lantern to let the engineer know that they had cleared whatever it was they were going through, an intersection, a bridge, tunnels, whatever. And so one time the weather was wicked bad, and Grandpa, thinking they were cleared of this bridge, leaned out of the train, hit his head on the bridge. So it split his head. It de-scalped him a little. They were on the train, so they just kept going to Lebanon, New Hampshire. My guess is they probably took him to Dartmouth Hitchcock Hospital, which was like right next to Lebanon. Anyway, they didn't think he was going to live, but he did live. He did survive. So that was an interesting story about my grandpa. And one of the things that I have always loved about trains is just, and I know this sounds crazy, but they seem so lonely to me. Like when you see a train off in the distance and it's traveling through the fields or headed in the mountains or whatever, it always is such a lonely feeling. And I think that stems from when I was little, being read the book about the trains that went from Kalamazoo to Timbuktu and back. And one was a big train and one was a little train. And, it wasn't a sad story. It was a kid's story. But all I remember about the story the most that has stayed with me all of my life, every time I see those trains, I would hear these lines in my head. And it was at the very end of the book. And at the end of the book, it would say, I think, I'm going to paraphrase because my memory is as it is. From Kalamazoo to Timbuktu and Timbuktu to back. It's a long, long way, a long, long way, a long, long way down the track. From Timbuktu to Kalamazoo, from Kalamazoo and back. It's a long, long way, a long, long way, a long, long way down the track. And I don't know why, but I remember as a child feeling so sad for those engineers on the train having to travel this long distance and back. And I don't know why. Anyway, it still is, obviously, because, sitting here starting to cry again. It obviously is just something, it invokes loneliness in me. I don't know why. I love to see trains, but I don't like being on a train. I have ridden a train, twice. The Cog Railway up Mount Washington. That really doesn't count as a train because I could have walked faster than that thing moved. But the other was a train from Anchorage, Alaska to Denali State Park. And I want you to know that I don't ever want to be in a train again. I can't handle the brakes in the track where the train does that thing and the sound and the movement, because if you get car sick, you're definitely going to get train sick, so not a good thing. But anyways, so onward and upward. So I do love to hear the trains. I love to hear the train when I'm laying in my bed at night a lot of times because I sleep with my window open. I can hear the trains, and it's just such a lonely sound. But anyway, I've had some requests. I've had requests to read some stories. I've had requests for like uplifting thoughts and lots of things. So I thank you for taking the time to even listen to my silly ramblings, because I love to talk. I love to ramble. And I do have some things that I will be glad to share with you. I don't want to do this every day, though, please, because then it's not a pleasure, then it's a have to, and when things become have tos, it's kind of like your mother, maybe you're in the kitchen and you are getting ready to do something and she says, could you do this? And you're like, nah, So when you have to do something, it's not a pleasure anymore, except for, of course, work. We enjoy our work, but anyway. Anyways, thank you for listening to Nana's Nuggets today about trains, and welcome to my grandson, Johnathan Gray. I am so pleased to have the family that I have, the children that I have, my siblings, cousins, aunts. I am grateful for the blessing that's been in my life, and thank you for listening. And I will see you another day soon. Bye-bye.